This is the ninth episode of the Pi podcast, and this is Rami's first time here. And this episode's just gonna be us talking about some like thought experiments and shooting our ideas about it. Which ones do you want to start with? The Equim one, the wager one, or the surgery one?
Saad, bro, you pick. Do you want to start?
Bro, yeah, you can talk about the wager thing because I'll forget what I had to say about it then.
Yeah, okay. Let me read it out. You are not religious. However, you meet a local priest who says you should be. His argument is as follows: if you are a believer in God and God exists, you will go to heaven. If you do not believe, you risk the possibility of going to hell. Your earthly life is rather short. At the most, you will live a century. However, the afterlife is long, an eternity, in fact. Therefore, you might as well invest your short earthly life as a believer, because if there is no God, you don't lose much time, and if there is God, you gain an eternity in heaven. Is the priest's gamble worth it? Does it convince you to become a believer?
Bro, so the first thing which I thought, so this is called Pascal's wager. When I was reading it, the first thing that came to my mind is logically fine, it makes sense. Like the whole argument of like the value of time on Earth versus time on the like eternity makes sense. But see, the reason what the loophole in my mind was that I don't think this would work because if we believe in like an omnipotent God, we believe that there is no such thing like God can read our intentions. So I feel like if someone was believing just for like being transactional about it, I don't think that would be accepted. Like I don't think it would count. I feel like you have to be pure in your intentions for your things to be like accepted as like something good. Because a good and bad is very subjective, right? It's about like, okay, so does it matter about like what effect it has, or is it about your intentions? And personally, I feel that someone's good or bad is not about the result as much as it is about the intentions, like in terms of being judged on it. So that's for me one thing, and that's why it wouldn't change my mind if I was if I was a non-religious person and someone came up to me, I would just be like, okay, well, I think that's BS because if there actually was a God, he wouldn't want me to try and make a deal with him, right? Like we're not trying to like bargain with him. It's not like God needs anything from us that we are trying to like um literally trying to trick him by doing some type of like transactional thing. I don't think it about like that. And the second thought that came to me about this was, bro, so for me personally, the whole fact of afterlife is eternity kind of throws me off. In my mind, when I think about afterlife, so I think heaven and hell is not the final destination of humanity, like or so life. I think heaven and hell is what comes after life. So what I mean by that is, in all places in what okay, so when I think about like why God created life, in my mind, I think about there's some type of higher purpose. That's what I think about. Like that comes after this. And this world is just like a something that we as a species or like as a our souls are going through to cleanse our souls. So what I think is that when we will be when we die, we'll go to heaven or hell. And I feel like the differentiation in that is that okay, so the people are already good, like the purified ones go to heaven and they get like higher ranks, and then the ones who go to hell, I don't think hell is a permanent destination because in the Quran, the exact thing that is used multiple times is till the end of time. So you'll go to hell till the end of time. So what I believe is interesting, and this is my personal belief, of course. I just think that at other points in the Quran, the end of time is also spoken about, like it's also mentioned. So if the end of time is something, and then heaven and or the afterlife is still the end of time, I don't believe that means eternity. I mean, I think that it's a phase. So humanity will go to hell. The worst ones will go to hell for longer. You'll go to hell, like none of your sins will be left unaccounted. You go to heaven or hell, and then you come out a more refined version. So the entire species as a whole will become more refined. So then I think from there, humanity will have a higher purpose. Like we will become a different form. We won't be restricted by these bodies. We will be intelligent, compassionate, and really like serve our God in a better way than we are on earth. Earth is, in my mind, is just a process of refining the species to make them a higher form. That's what I think of. So in terms of like, oh, you're going to go, you should do good because it means that you go to heaven for eternity or you go to hell for eternity. I think eternity, obviously the logic makes sense because that's so much time compared to like the minuscule life on earth. So that logic still stays the same, but I don't think afterlife is really eternal.
I'm gonna let Rami speak because he really went at it. Interesting though.
But but your second point, you mentioned something like, when you talked about humans serving like a higher purpose, not being restricted by our bodies and stuff. Reminded me, like, I feel like you were trying, like, talking about like transcendence, like, like, I feel like I agree with that point when what you said, that there might be a life, so to speak, after the afterlife, in a sense where we're not bounded by anything that we are now. But like when it comes to the entire wager, I think, like, if and when you talk about convincing you to become a believer, like, I don't think you can really, I think there's more to our faith than the whole concept of heaven and hell. Like, I don't think that's like, personally, I don't think that's a motivator in the sense for having our faith. So if you were to convince or try and convince someone who doesn't prescribe to any specific religion, monotheistic religion, whatever, it doesn't make sense to me, because I think there has to be so much more coming from it. There has to be an entire background coming from it, in the sense that a lot of people are like born into religion, and that shapes their views, and the world around you shapes their views. So I think this wager is like, it's named a wager like reasonably, because it's something that could very well fail, and I don't think it's like a gamble that's worth it, because like impressions make a difference. So if this priest is talking to a person who's not religious, and they receive the impression that religion is entirely based on, it
Yeah.
seems as if more it's submission in this point, rather than like a, a belief in a higher being who's put you on this earth for a purpose. And I think it's a really like myopic way of trying to convince someone to come into religion.
Roosevelt, before you go, I just want a small point about how you said about how we shouldn't think about religion as restricted to this. And that what I wanted to point on is that so many people think of religion as exactly that. They're brought up in a way, they're only taught about how religion means you do this, and you go to heaven, you do this, and you go to hell. It's not as like easy as that. There's no cheat codes to religion. You can't do something like I definitely believe in the importance of rituals, but there's so much more to Islam than doing namaz 5 times a day. You're a shit person. It doesn't matter if you do the most zakat in the entire world, and you do fucking tahajjud every night. Like the rituals are something that help. The reason that we have these rituals are to become better people. The rituals are the ends. They're the means. They're not the end. So if you fucking focus on that only, you will be you won't have a real pure understanding of religion. You'll just be restricted to thinking of it as like, okay, like even if you don't love God, you will follow him. And I don't think that it should be like that. It should be a belief and submission. You said like you were talking about submission. I think it's good to submit. I submit to God, but out of love, I do it myself. Like I want to do it, not because if I don't, I'm like if I don't do namaz right now, that means that 100% you're going to heaven. Or if I did every single namaz from now till the end of my death, the end of my life, that means that I'm going to just become some
Wait,
like 100%
to like
heavenly.
make your idea, like I want my take on this would be, I mean, I'd where'd it go? 1 second, sorry. Yeah, I'd follow the priest. Um, Mainly because to me, I mean, I think for the past three podcasts at least, it's just coming down to me thinking about saying the same thing. It it would just give me a purpose and not spiral down that same chain of thoughts thinking about, okay, what's the point of any of this? Instead of like I agree with what both of you said, that I like not just break it down to the idea of heaven or hell. It's like sometimes even religion gives you hope that kind of gets you moving in life. Like if you have a shit time, sometimes you go like, okay, this is a path chosen for me from someone who knows everything, who's called like the greatest planner and stuff. And so any any I mean setback you have, anything you have, religion somewhat will give you some motivation to carry on. And as for like accepting it, I mean, to be fair, even I think I do believe there is a God, but let's say if there isn't, even if I die, I wouldn't mind, because I don't know, the idea of religion just gives me more comfort going through with life. And so, to me at least, it helps me live a better life than if I didn't have any sort of guidance. So, personally, I'd accept the wager.
Bro,
And
I 100%. I don't think any one of us would not accept, like all of us believe in religion, but this argument is so like you're
yeah,
speaking
no,
about
no,
believing.
no. This is more based around fear, I think, because it's like, okay, you'll go to heaven. I mean, it's basically saying you have everything to lose. Like everything can go wrong for you, or you just follow religion and it'll all be fine. Because if you don't follow it and God turns out to be real, you're screwed. But if he's not real and you follow religion, it's just fine. I don't know, it's just really based around fear and that whole idea. And I agree with you when you say, even in our country, religion is taught in a way where it goes like, oh, you should, like, it's just that fear of going to hell. And
Yeah,
I mean, to me, for example, it's not like everything just comes down to, oh, I have to do this to go to heaven. It's mainly like even religion, like some details of it just gives me some hope to stay happy. And I don't know, it's just, to me, it shouldn't be just stripped down to heaven or hell. I hate the
yeah.
approach of this, but I would, like, I'd accept it.
Okay. What was the second one?
I
Second
want to
one
do
was,
the surgery one first because I've been thinking about this for a while.
Yeah, let's
go for it.
go.
Because it has a variant as well that changes things. You are a doctor in the future. A patient comes into your office with a number of symptoms, and you quickly identify your ailment, a failing heart. They will surely die without treatment. In fact, they pass out in your office. Luckily, you know all that is required is a simple surgery in which you can give your patient a synthetic heart, and they will be good as new. Yet, as you are preparing to take the patient to surgery, a small medical card falls out of their pocket, indicating that for religious reasons, they do not want any synthetic organs. If you do not install the synthetic heart, the patient will die. But if you do, you will be violating the patient's wishes. Do you pretend you didn't see the card and install the synthetic heart, or do you respect the patient's wishes and let them die? First, just basic answer. Would you let them die, or like would you install
Bro,
the synthetic heart?
okay, so considering there's not no like tricks or anything, and like this is okay, so first thing that came to my mind is about the authenticity of the card. Like, how do
No,
I
no,
know
no,
that
no.
this?
Yeah, no. I've had this argument before. For this argument, just consider it's not like
we know
it's
100% that
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
and it's not like he had it from before and now he's changed his mind and he forgot to remove the card or
okay.
anything.
So then I would respect his wishes. I would respect his wishes. Uh, I'll elaborate later. But
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do the same.
yeah, same.
yeah,
For me though, wait, let me read out the variant as well. That's what made me properly decide that like I respect his wishes, because there's another one where the patient is a child with the same condition, but the parents don't want to get them a synthetic heart for religious reasons, and you as a doctor have the legal, like legally you're allowed to take a decision yourselves regardless of what the parents say. In that case, do you install the heart or do you let the kid die?
no. Then I install the heart. Fuck the
But
parents'
then
Same,
in
wishes.
that case, I
same.
install that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For my reasoning for this is that in for the guy, like the first part, I respect his wishes because that's his own choice. That's the path he wants to choose. And even if I do install, like I was talking about this the other day, and the guy, what he said, like the guy I was talking to, he said I'd install the heart because you never know, the guy might, like, like if he carries on with life, something good might happen to Joby. And his argument was, even if, let's say, he's against it and he commits suicide, that is out of my hands. That's purely his
Yeah,
choice.
that's what I was gonna think also. Like,
Yeah,
what if
yeah.
me bringing him to life means that he doesn't want to live anymore?
Hmm.
That's what I was.
So I was like, okay, in this case, I'd respect the person's wishes because, I mean, to be fair, this is probably one of his only wishes that could be granted in this world, like completely, and I'd respect that. And for the kid, however, someone else making a decision on an innocent child's life, I wouldn't accept that. Because that's, if it's your own body, if it's your own like vessel, it's fine. But
Yeah,
if you're making that decision for someone else, I don't think that's right. Especially if the person hasn't lived life, formed enough opinions to make a
yeah.
decision themselves.
You're
So
imposing your will onto them, and other than that, also the child has so much more left to do, so much more left to live, so much more left to see. It's really cruel, like having them die, like without having a chance.
and
Well, I think also if you think about, like, I think if I was in this position, I'd think about it from the standpoint, like, I'm a medical practitioner, I have to uphold what the Hippocratic Oath says, like, and that means also, while it does say, you know, you have to protect each and every one of your patients. I think that could also go as far to say is you have to protect their wishes in the sense that the same way someone who, let's say, is a do not resuscitate, and their mother or their father, whoever it is saying, like, if they have a chance to live, let them live. You respect their wishes because that's like one, like Zubair said, that's one of the only, like, it's a decision that could be made granted. It gives you a sense of control over your life, which is something I think we don't have. So I think that's how I think of it.
You know what complicates this a lot is, so we're thinking about it from the choice of, okay, so either your action or inaction, um, like your action is to change the outcome and your inaction is to just let it go. The other condition where it gets a little more messed up is euthanasia, because then it's inverse. Like your action is to kill them and your inaction is to just let them live. So in that thing, it's a little more tricky. I um i think euthanasia is something that has to be seen on a little more case by case basis. And this one, it's more like straightforward, like
yeah,
you
no,
should.
one thing that like, okay, to make this conversation more interesting, I'd say I'd save the person.
Yeah.
Um,
You're
and
playing devil's advocate.
yeah, my reasoning is that, okay, A, you never know, like on my part, I'm supposed to save his life. Okay, you never know, that guy might like live on life and like might change his religious beliefs and realize like what he believed in previously might not be right, or live life and like, I don't know, be happy or do something amazing. And on the other side, also for a selfish reason, as in like, you know how if you see something fucked up happening, like let's say he's having a seizure and he's dying there, it's frustrating not doing anything even though you have the skill and the ability to save that life.
Yeah,
and
it is.
and I might feel guilty after that, thinking, okay, what if later on that person found out his belief was flawed? And I mean, it, it's a very selfish reason, but I've seen a lot of people say this, that like I'd feel too guilty to like live on with life or to carry on with life, so I'd save his life. And it it's selfish, but then you're also saving a life, but you're doing it against the person's wishes. It's very confusing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Bro,
It's
one
like
more thing that came to my mind uh, is that we were all making our decisions based on the assumption that we know that having a synthetic organ isn't really against any religion. Like, why would it be against religion? So
yeah,
that's our we're all operating under that condition. But you know, to some extent, someone could also be like, isn't that a little arrogant to consider the fact that like, what if he's right? What like I don't think it's right at all. I think it's really stupid to consider that. But imagine he is right because we are imposing our own beliefs, right? This is so. Imagine he is right. We were just talking about afterlife. Imagine we die and then he is punished for having a synthetic heart. Like it's absurd, and I don't think it would ever happen. But like, imagine that that was a condition. Like
no,
we
wait, no. One thing that I was talking to someone about this only, and they said they'd save the life and everything, and like they talked about the religious thing about the person's belief being wrong or not, and that person was Muslim. So I posed, like I argued with him. Let's say you were the patient. Let's say Saad, you were the patient, um, and because of technology or Joby, I could replace your heart, but it would be with like a pig's heart. Okay? And in like Islam, like I mean, like pigs are like, I mean, jo bhi haram, jo bhi hai, theek hai? In that case, like, would you would you want that to happen? Would you want your heart to
yeah,
be
bro. I,
replaced with a
I
pig's
would
heart?
want it to happen.
And that switched the person's mind to saying, okay, I wouldn't go on with that surgery. And I found that very interesting, because right now we're looking at it from a point of view that, okay, that I mean that belief kind of seems stupid. I mean, it's a synthetic heart, will be
Yeah,
like helping you live. But then when you look at it from a patient's perspective, the person's held this belief
you
like,
want yeah.
yeah, so when he like wakes up and then he finds out that, oh, I have a synthetic heart, probably think that, oh, I've messed up. All of my years of worshipping or doing religious stuff gone to waste and all of that stuff.
Bro, other than that, also you look at your own body and you think, there's something inside of me that I did not consent to, and that would
Mm.
also be messed up for them. They'd probably like feel so frustrated, like every day of themselves. They would just like think of like they'd look in the mirror and just be like, this is not my body. Like they could think like that.
Yeah.
But about this big thing, bro, I don't think. I mean, personally, I would research into it more, but I don't see why using a pig's heart would be like wrong. Like it's the
No,
same
why
thing.
exactly. That's the way
Yeah.
you're thinking, but you never know what the way like a patient might
Yeah.
think.
So I get that. So like it basically you're saying if it went against my own beliefs, which
Mm.
is yeah,
And
exactly.
with the child thing, another thing that came into my mind, like let's say you do save the child against the parents' wishes, and the parents are like, because of religious reasons, against the process you like went through to like save that kid. What if the parents just like abandon the kid for that reason, and then
Bro,
that
it's fine.
responsibility is on you?
It's fine. The kid still, bro. Being abandoned is better than dying. Like I mean, opposite. Yeah, being abandoned is better than dying because you still have so much potential, bro. I think for me, I think the worst thing about killing children is that you're just eliminating so much potential. Like that kid could be the next. That kid could cure cancer. That kid could be the person that saves humanity. Like you,
Yeah, no, wait, one thing. You know that story of that priest who saved a kid from drowning and it turned out to be Hitler?
yeah,
You can use that same concept here. What if you do
yeah.
save
I
the
get
kid
that.
and they save kids abandoned, becomes messed up, and
I get that that's fair, but I still believe in letting potential run its course. So I would want it.
Yeah, but
It
like
doesn't matter.
if it turns out shit, would you feel guilty for like saving that kid's life?
No,
Why
uh,
not?
But I don't
because
think you can like you like another person's actions, regardless of like how you played a part in their life. I think that should be up, like it should be their responsibility. Like you bear responsibility for your own actions. So yeah,
because
you might have
no, sorry, continue.
played a part in like helping that person reach that point, or like Saad says, fulfill that potential. But like I don't think you should like attribute the blame to upon yourself just because of
Wait,
some person did actually.
have you guys seen The Boys?
No, I haven't. But
I watched a
I've
bit of it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, basically this is a very stupid thing to say, but like just think about it. You save the kid. You think you've done something good. You've helped the kid, and in The Boys, this like scientist gives this like kid powers. Okay, you save the kid. The kid has a shit life, becomes a criminal, and then you spend the rest of your life running away from that kid because well he holds you responsible, comes kill you, like tries to come and kill you.
bro. Okay, so I would have no. Okay, you started. You started by saying, would you feel guilty? I wouldn't feel guilty because think about it like this. Imagine there's a house burning. I save someone from the burning house. Okay? Then 1 week later, they get hit by a car. So you're saying that by saving them from the burning house,
No, you
I caused them to be.
in this case, you somewhat have an idea that the parents might not agree with the step you're taking. You know
Okay,
somewhat that there
so
is a chance that it might not work out for the kid.
okay,
Like the okay, let me
if I
the
pull
example you
someone out of
took,
the burning,
the example you took, I get what you're trying to say, but that is pure chance. In this, you can make an assumption that okay, the parents might not accept the kid, put them up for adoption, and like that may not work for the kid. Like you do have some information to make some of these assumptions.
bro, but I don't think anything is chance. Like, okay, you're saying you're using this whole logic thing about okay, I believe that the child has a higher potential for having a risk life. So if I save someone out of their burning house, that means I know that their their house is burnt down. Imagine that person doesn't have any insurance, so he's gonna like lose millions of money. Imagine he's in lots of debt, and then losing this house is like what causes him to kill himself, or like what causes him to go and rob a bank. Like it's because of me. Like it's not pure chance. It's because it's causational. Why would I feel guilty though? I'm still
Okay,
trying to.
let's kind of tweak the thought experiment. The parents say they'll abandon the kid, never accept the kid if you conduct that surgery. Would you still
But then I'll
do
just
it?
drop the kid, yeah, and then fuck the parents. That proves that those parents are horrible parents, and then like I would take it upon myself. That means in my lap is coming an opportunity from God to prove that this kid is having a fucked up life. This kid's parents are psychotic. Save him from them. So I would say, fine, abandon these kids. I'll take care of
Interesting. What was the next
it.
one?
But
The last,
Yeah.
I left the last one, like, I wanted to do this one last because I mean, it seems kind of interesting.
it's actually pretty cool. I like this one.
Yeah,
I think it's
I also like the machine one if you have time to do that. How do you pronounce it? Equim?
I think it's Equim. I'm not sure.
Equim, yeah,
Yeah. Equim is a world in which everyone is completely impartial.
com- yeah, complete.
Yeah, in Equim, everyone treats everyone else with equal concern. Therefore, if a parent had the choice of saving their child or another child from drowning, they would make an impartial decision, possibly flipping a coin or simply choosing the child that is closest. For the purpose of this thought experiment, let us say that the world of Equim is happier than our society, both on a societal level and an individual level. If you could give the people of Equim a pill that would make them more like the people of Earth, would or should you, contrarily, would or should you give a pill to make the people of Earth more like the people of Equim?
Well, I think this is really, really interesting because I think there's like two ways that you can go about this in the way that you think it. So when I read this, absolute first thought that came to my mind was, okay, it's questionable because, I mean, like our bias toward things or the way we react to things, the way we've been conditioned to react to things by throughout our entire life. Like for example, in the scenario they've given of saving their child or even another child from drowning, like our driving factor and that is our morality, and so that biases us toward making a decision to save that person's life. When you take away that whole concept of making a biased decision and making an impartial decision, like a huge question you have to consider is, where does morality come into this? And I think for me, morality is one of the rules that you govern your life on. I think if you're a person without morals, then you're a shit person. I mean, that kind of like, it's self-explanatory. So I think that the way I thought about this was that, okay, if you're making it an impartial decision to not save a person's child, you're flipping a coin, sorry, and that coin could very well say, no, you let the fucker die. Like, I mean, it's really messed up when you think about it in that sense, and it's
Um,
all about the, yeah, what's up?
no, finish your what you were saying.
Um, it's all about the moral compass in that sense, and then I think when you argue it on the other hand, because it goes on to say, let's say the world of Equim is happier than our society, then you have to question, okay, maybe our decisions that we carry out that are governed by our morality, that make them biased, are everything that's wrong with this world, and that are a lack of that morality or immorality is what causes these horrible decisions where people take horrible action. So there's like two coins to it, ironically,
Yeah,
seeing the whole concept about it.
so when I thought about this, the first thing that clicked into my mind was relationships would be very flawed or very weak. Because, I mean, you pretty much kind of like for the coin flipping thing, like you say with kid, it was either like you flip a coin or you choose the one closest. Choosing the one closest is like more logical, because
Yeah.
you have a higher chance of saving that person. But like another thing that I thought about with something you said right now, like the second thing you were talking about was like our world, the thing being wrong about our world is like having these biases and all that stuff. It made me realize in our world we have a lot of biases in like almost everything. Like
Yeah.
basic dekho, something we've been through and we will go through, two things, college application or like a job application. If you go with a reference, you will most probably have a bias, like in your
Yeah.
favor. If let's say your dad's friend's interviewing you, and then he's interviewing someone kind of random, and you have somewhat of the same resume, but the other person's is slightly higher, bias is most probably in your favor. You're gonna most probably you have an advantage. On the other hand, in like basically in everything you do in our world, usually family or like people you have bonds with are favored over anyone else, which kind of makes sense. I mean, you know that person more and all of that stuff, but I think it adds a lot of flaws in a lot of systems as well. Let's say like in my family, we had a family member who was in one political party, and everyone voted for that person without really questioning the party's like, matlab, jo bhi, theek hai, their
Yeah.
history, everything like that. And that made me question, like, it's not really kind of right from a democracy. You're not really going off
Yeah.
your own thing. You're just going to, oh, I know that guy. I know he's going to do well. I'm going
Yeah.
to vote for him. So I think in that way it'd be interesting. But like the way you provided two different like views to it, I found it interesting, which makes it even more confusing.
Yeah.
Okay. My thing, I also have 2 points, but they're not on opposite sides. They're both similar ways of like thinking about it. So, well, first of all, it's about the claim that that world is happier. First of all, happiness is subjective.
Yeah.
For some people, like doesn't like you can't really measure like happiness. Okay, And then I was saying that, bro, maybe even if you're happy, I personally think that our world would be a lot less efficient. And sometimes we sacrifice our happiness to become better versions of ourselves. So the same way, we probably would be happy if we didn't have to work jobs and we just could like, we would be happier if we didn't, if no one cared about like if we were had if we went to the gym, you'd be happy, you wouldn't have to do that work. But going to the gym makes you healthier, and maybe it also makes you more attractive to people, but it's also better for you. So yes, we wouldn't have racism, we wouldn't have sexism, we wouldn't have religious intolerance, we would have a much more agreeable world. But disagreements are also important. And what I mean by that is, so you're saying you're completely impartial. And see, the thing is, stereotypes are not always bad. Stereotypes can be very, very bad, but stereotypes are also important for making snap judgments. That's the reason why our brain is so good at making stereotypes. If I had to, if imagine aliens came to the world right now and they challenged humanity to a basketball match, and if we won the basketball match, we survive, and if we lose the basketball match, then they will obliterate the earth. Okay, so you have these random people in front of you, you have to pick a team. You use your stereotypes and you think, okay, this guy is taller, this guy looks more athletic, this guy is African American, maybe he's better at basketball. Bro, so you do these stereotypes because I don't give a shit if I'm being racist. I'm trying to save the world, okay? I'm not gonna take like a 7-year-old girl to play basketball. Like, but maybe that 7-year-old girl is amazing. Maybe I'm being stereotyped, but it's okay to make stereotypes sometimes when you need to make snap judgments. The importance of humanity is to, despite these stereotypes, look past them and have and understand to separate those stereotypes from when you need to make a rational judgment. But when you have nothing else to base it on, then the stereotype can be helpful. So I think maybe, so the first point that I was saying, that maybe it'll be more happy, but it will not be as efficient. And another thing to add on to this point only is, I imagine you you have to save two people from a burning building, and you choose the one who is closest to you. Fine, maybe I'm choosing the one who's closest to me because I'm impartial between the two, but maybe one of them is a much better person than the other. Maybe one of them is a great, amazing hero, and the other person is a horrible scumbag. So if I'm being impartial between the two and I'm just choosing the person who's closest to me, I'm not doing a good thing. Like, this is the first point that I had. The second point I had was, okay, when people have biases towards people, people are partial towards something. Usually, it's probably for a selfish reason, or it's because of like intolerance or something. Like maybe like, the reason that was like, biologically, the reason that our parents care about you so much is a selfish reason. They just care about getting their own genes further. They don't really like, the reason that they love you
Yeah.
can be seen as a really like shit way. So in the same way, so you're assuming that none of that is there, no selfishness, and everyone like is really agreeable, fine. But having no biases over another person also means an absence of love. So Zubair, you were talking about relationships. Love is important for people. We always talk about how sometimes we don't have purpose in life, right? For so many people, that purpose can come in the form of a person.
Yeah.
Like, this person loves me, I'm living for them. I i i they love me so much, I love them so much, that's why I'm living. Or maybe people live just like, maybe someone is working so hard just for their children, like just for a better life for them. So in that sense, love is important. It drives you, it focuses you, and sometimes it can be ugly, sometimes it can be hurtful, but
Yeah,
why
no,
would you sacrifice that?
yeah, I thought about that. I was like, let's say you love someone a lot, and they say they love you back in this like Equim world, they choose someone else over you. I mean, that what I said previously, it makes the idea of
You'll be betrayed.
relationships and having bonds like less valuable, because it's like
Yeah.
everyone's cheated. But I think one of the main arguments you should also have is happiness worth it? Like, if your system is inefficient, you said, but if everyone is happy, Does it really
For
matter
me,
if the system is efficient or not? You can live as hunter gatherers and be happy. You can like live very simple and be happy. Is it worth it? And what makes our world so great that you would choose this over like a perfect happy world? And
but
in
a perfect
efficiency
world
in
is just
it.
objectively happier than ours. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean
no,
perfectly.
yeah, no, but like if what do you mean by efficiency? Efficiency can mean a lot of
Wait,
things.
but
And
you've also talked to me about how ignorance is bliss is something that interests you a lot. The whole idea of people are happier when they know less.
yeah,
But you wouldn't want that, right? So you wouldn't want to know less. You would take the burden of having that knowledge because it's more satisfying than just being happy. Like having a purpose and being driven to it is more satisfying than just being happy. Like the life of a dog is probably happier than the life of a human. You know, they're taken care of, petted, loved, fed food, they sleep all day. Like in a rich family, the life of a dog is probably amazing. You would still not want to. Most people would still not want to trade their life with that dog, because even if they struggle, even if they have stress, even if they have anxiety, even if they have burdens, they want to live with these demons because they have so much to do. Like they have
I have a
ambition.
question. This is on a tangent. Do you ever wish you were simple-minded, like you'd know less just to be happy? Like at times, do you ever wish
Not
that?
at all. I never would do that.
No, I don't
I,
think so.
I would, if I had the choice to find out some secret of the universe that would make me like horribly like upset, like to the next level, I would still take that.
Wait,
I don't.
okay, no. What if that horrible thing is that there is no God and all religions are flawed? Would you rather have that, or would you rather
Yeah, I
like
would rather have certain. For me,
Yeah,
I'm I
no?
value information and knowledge about.
I The thing is, for me, it's just that I don't find the point of knowing so much. Like, what will you do with all of that information? We're here in this world for such limited time. None of that really matters. I mean, if you're here, I mean, might as well just be happy with what you have.
But see, I don't think
Like, no, like
this world is just for
one
being
thing is
happy.
okay, our conversations, they're very interesting. And but like last time on our podcast, we basically talked about, we kind of went on about absurdism, and then we talked about like life not having a purpose and all of that stuff. It was a good conversation, but after that conversation, I was just thinking, I was like, okay, sometimes I wish like my thoughts were just very simple and very like shallow, because like I don't know. At times, if you think a lot, it sometimes feels like a burden. Feels kind of trapped, especially if you get into these thoughts of like, some thoughts are like loops. You keep going on and on. You can't find a conclusion or anything. Um, that kind of gets annoying, and at times that makes me want to wish I was like simple-minded or like a fool that
yeah.
just be happy and like, you know, I know so much, but what's that gotten me? Like not not much really. So like
Bro,
Yeah,
but for me, the knowledge is the get. Like it's not like what the knowledge gets me. I value the knowledge.
yeah, I
I
agree.
find that knowledge, like it's not about what it gets me, all other than the fact that like that's what I'm trying to get. Like I
why
don't
though?
value,
But I think
bro.
like when it comes down to it, like for me, like you know how they say like don't like for example, okay, you're in a relationship with someone, they say don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. For me, I'm still the type of person to ask those questions simply because I feel uneasy in the absence of knowledge, like in the sense that when I know that there's something that I could know, it's for me I feel uneasy because I
Yeah,
think personally
but
outside
you
where like
you're saying that you feel more uneasy when you know that there's something to know. If you were so like blinded that you didn't even know that there was anything to know, then that gets a. You see, there's this thing,
yeah,
there's this graphic that's very popular on the internet. It's of these three different people, right? So there's this one person, he's just standing on the ground, and he sees rainbows and butterflies, and it's really happy life. and there's a person standing on books, and he is sees a very dark, cloudy world with unhappiness. So that's the traditional graphic. What I found better, like a version of that graphic that I found better, was a third person standing. He was standing on so many clouds that it went above those dark clouds. Like it went to like the bright part. So I think knowledge does burden you when you get to that point where there's so much more you want to know, so much more you want to know, so much like when you realize how much you don't know, that's when you're like fuck. But when you get so much knowledge, and it's not about knowledge, it's about wisdom. When you get that wisdom, that you realize that I know that I will never know everything, but I love that and I appreciate that. And as much as I know, I want to be like a vessel vessel of like knowledge and information. And you asked why, right? Like why would someone want that? I believe personally that one of the purposes of, remember I was literally the first thing we were talking about is Pascal's wager. I said that I believe that this humanity stint on Earth is supposed to have a purpose. It's like it's like a refining thing to show like the different types of people. I believe that the the first, so lots of my basis of everything is on Islam. So the first word that I ever revealed to the Prophet was Ikra, read, right? The whole point of that, read as in acquire knowledge. So I think one of the important reasons of humanity as a species is to learn and acquire knowledge. And Allah also refers to humanity as the ashraful makhluqat, right? The species that's in like God's, like the khalifas of God on earth, the representatives. If we have some, okay, remember, almost, let me just finish this thought and then we'll be done. Bro, when humanity was made, when the angels like asked God, like why, this is all based on Quran, right? So I'm going on that assumption that we're following the Quran. So in the Quran it says that when humanity was made, the angels like asked God like why would you create something like that would worship you imperfectly when we can already worship you. And then, you know, Allah made Hazrat Adam learn all the different like names of the things in heaven. There's a lot more to it, but then when he recited that back to the angels, they were so impressed because he was able to learn something, and angels can't like learn themselves. They can only be sent that information from God. Like they don't have the ability to acquire and learn and have that independent free thought. So that's why I think it's important for a person to learn as much as they can, like get any opportunity to expand their mind. It's important for me.
I find that interesting, but I still want to say one of the last things. I'd still sometimes, for a limited time, just want to be simple minded. Like if I could set a timer, like okay, from 2nd of June to like 10th of June, I just lose all of my thoughts. Just like stay happy for a while, just relax, take a break from this work, which is like thinking, and then just come back to it. Also interesting, before the podcast started, Saad said he doesn't want to talk that much. Um, Interesting. You went on for 10 minutes at the start. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
But it
bro,
was
there's a
interesting.
reason.
Yeah.
One thing, though, I want to say is with the surgery question, you guys are stupid and annoying because last time I had
Because
this
we already
conversation, the person
because we all
wanted to
agreed with one
save,
thing.
yeah, no, the person wanted to save like the patient or whatever, and that led to such an interesting conversation. So thank you for that. Um, so yeah. Also, surprisingly enough, I mean, podcasts on Spotify aren't available in Pakistan, but well, we have our podcast on Spotify, Google Cast, and a bunch of other places. That's going to be in the description. Also, yeah, I'll leave a link to the thought experiments in the description. There are a bunch of other interesting ones as well. And thank you for listening.